Welcome, friends, to another Global Trends and Cycles forecast, focused on Chinese banks that may get caught in the fallout of the crisis surrounding Evergrande, the Chinese property developer with $300 billion in debt, which is struggling to meet its payment deadlines. First, China's chart is experiencing what I found to be the number one astrological indicator of a debt crisis, transiting Neptune in harsh aspect with natal or progressed Saturn. This has been ongoing for a few years, as I pointed out in my book, The Dragon's Debt, published in 2018, in which I predicted a financial and economic crisis centered on China, beginning in late 2019 or 2020 and lasting into 2023, due to the massive amounts of debt in the Chinese property market and poorly regulated wealth management products. I'll be analyzing the charts of four major Chinese banks: China Construction Bank, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, China Minsheng Banking Corporation, and Agricultural Bank of China. Let me just say at the outset that some of these outcomes may not seem that surprising, considering that Evergrande borrowed money from many banks. But my point here is to give you a sense of which banks are in a relatively strong position, can be resilient, and survive the crisis, and which are in a much weaker position and may need to be restructured. So if you're finding value in this video, please click subscribe. Let's start with China Construction Bank, which was founded on October 1st, 1954. It shares the same birthday as the People's Republic of China. Just to note, all of the charts in this analysis were calculated for sunrise for the founding date. What stands out here is the conjunction of progressed Venus and progressed Saturn at 14 to 15 degrees Scorpio. This is a configuration of financial loss. For this sunrise chart, it falls in the second house of financial assets, the worst house position it could have. Furthermore, progressed Venus had been retrograde and returned to direct motion in early October 2020 at 14 degrees 40 minutes Scorpio. Because progressed planets move very slowly, progressed Venus is still at this position. Transiting Uranus in Taurus is opposing progressed Venus for several months in 2021 due to Uranus going retrograde at 14 degrees Taurus on August 20th, almost exactly opposing progressed Venus as it did so. This bank is undergoing a sudden crisis that worsens its status, and which seems to be just the beginning of its woes for the next several years. On October 10th, the triple conjunction of Mercury, Mars, and the Sun at 16 degrees Libra is square natal Mars, 17 degrees Capricorn, which is a harsh angle of 90 degrees. Mars is the ruler of this chart's second house, which has Scorpio on its cusp. Thus, Mars has great influence over progressed Venus and Saturn. Just 2 days later, transiting Saturn goes direct at 6 degrees 52 minutes Aquarius, squaring natal Saturn 8 degrees Scorpio. This could be a regulatory judgment against the bank. On November 10th, the transiting Mercury-Mars conjunction at 7 degrees 22 minutes Scorpio conjoins this chart's natal Saturn, indicating a sudden, sharp decline in value. A real low point may come near the end of 2021 as transiting Venus goes retrograde at 26 degrees 29 minutes Capricorn on December 20th, conjoining transiting Pluto and progressed Chiron, and all will square natal Neptune 25 degrees Libra. Trying to sort out this bank's many problems may tempt China's regulators to let it fold, but the amount of contagion that could result will probably prevent that from happening at this point. In late January, early February of 2022, transiting Saturn, 14 to 16 degrees Aquarius, will square progressed Venus and Saturn. February 1st through the 4th will be key for China Construction Bank, as the Aquarius new moon conjoins transiting Saturn, and thus a Sun-Moon-Saturn triple conjunction squares progressed Venus and Saturn. This really looks like a simultaneous ending, new beginning for this bank, with an influx of funding coming from other banks. As the progressed conjunction of Venus and Saturn won't be exact for several more years, there is more pain ahead for China Construction Bank. The triple conjunction of Mars, Uranus in the North Node on August 2nd, 2022, at 18 degrees Taurus, opposes this chart's datal Venus, 20 degrees Scorpio, and both are square transiting Saturn, a configuration known as a T-square. Once again, there is a Venus-Saturn configuration, and it involves the 2nd and 8th financial houses. This will be a difficult test for China Construction Bank to overcome, so it could be the sudden announcement of a restructuring of this bank. Note that the triple conjunction is in the 8th house of death, transformation, and renewal for this sunrise chart. In October 2027, the transiting nodes, 7 degrees Aquarius Leo, form a T-square to natal Saturn, and the progressed Venus-Saturn conjunction still isn't exact yet. These are harsh years ahead for China Construction Bank. It may have to be absorbed by another bank. Also, there is heavy emphasis on Saturn for this chart in this time period. It is a time of reckoning for the bank. Note also that transiting Pluto is now in Aquarius, moving to exactly square natal Saturn, indicating relentless problems with loss-making assets. Overall, for China Construction Bank, it is very difficult to overcome the losses signified by a progressed Venus-Saturn conjunction. And with the current Saturn-Uranus square interacting with it, the stresses and obstacles may prove to be too much when assets are already depleted and/or losing value. Next on our list is Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, which was founded in 1984. This chart is being hit by many of the previously mentioned aspects, but the prognosis looks slightly better. Most outstanding is the December 4th, 2021 total solar eclipse at 12 degrees 22 minutes Sagittarius, conjoining progressed Uranus in the South Node. Negotiations over this bank's holdings of Evergrande and other debt probably occurred under the Mercury-Mars conjunction of August 19th at 12 degrees Virgo in the 8th house of shared assets for this sunrise chart. Note that in the June through October 2021 time period, transiting Uranus at 13 to 15 degrees Taurus was trine progressed Venus 15 degrees Capricorn, and in mid-August they formed a grand trine, which is a big equilateral triangle of planetary positions in the sky, with the Mercury-Mars conjunction in Virgo. So Industrial and Commercial Bank had to jump on the game and secured something favorable. In the same time period, transiting Uranus opposes the progressed Mars-Saturn conjunction in Scorpio. This bank's leadership probably had to accept strict terms and agree to changes in order to get an influx of capital. The Sun-Mercury-Mars triple conjunction of October 10th at 16 degrees Libra will square progressed Venus, but it is also trine the progressed Sun 18 degrees Aquarius, so Industrial and Commercial Bank's luck will continue. The party must view this bank with favor. The effect of the Venus retrograde may not be as sharp for this bank. Transiting Venus goes retrograde before conjoining progressed Mercury 28 degrees Capricorn. However, the Venus-Mars-Pluto triple conjunction of March 3rd, 2022 will conjoin progressed Mercury, which is favorable for the value of industrial and commercial bank, especially in the eyes of investors, both foreign and domestic. Note there is a new moon in Pisces the same day, conjunct Jupiter, falling in the second house of financial assets. So it does seem that capital is coming in, mainly from foreign investors. This new moon forms a T-square with the progressed nodes and Uranus, so these investors are taking a big risk. But this bank is perhaps in the best position of the 4 banks we're looking at in this video. However, the Mars-Uranus North Node triple conjunction of August 2022 at 18 degrees Taurus will square the progressed Sun 18 degrees Aquarius, and this forms a T-square with progressed Mars and Saturn in Scorpio. This bank's leadership may suddenly change under this influence. Foreign investors may view this very negatively, perhaps seeing the long-term situation as a bait and switch. Perhaps part of industrial and commercial bank's appeal, at least to Chinese leadership, is its handling of its ties to the shadow banking system. Note that natal Jupiter and Neptune are conjunct in the late degrees of Sagittarius in the 12th house of hidden issues. At present, there appears to be a good sync between the official side and the shadow side, as the sign Pisces is totally within the second house of financial assets for this sunrise chart, and Jupiter and Neptune are the co-rulers of Pisces. But transiting Saturn and Neptune conjoin at 0 degrees Aries in February 2026, and prior to their exact conjunction, they briefly travel closely together in the late degrees of Pisces. There will be subtle signs of what's brewing in this regard in February, March, and early April 2025, as the transiting North Node conjuncts Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces. With Saturn in the mix, regulators who were content to look the other way may suddenly get sharp with this bank. Note that there is a lunar eclipse that interacts with Saturn and Neptune on March 14, 2025, indicating an upset. But overall, the prognosis for industrial and commercial bank is that it can emerge from the Evergrande crisis with less damage than other banks and regain its footing. China Minsheng Banking Corporation is in a good position for now, at least from the perspective of this sunrise chart for its founding in 1996. Just the fact that the 2020 Saturn-Pluto conjunction at 22 degrees 46 minutes Capricorn was conjunct Minsheng's natal Sun 21 degrees Capricorn is a sign of power, as it put the ruler of the Capricorn ascendant, which is Saturn, and the ruler of the Scorpio midheaven, which is Pluto, in position to power this bank's leadership, represented by the natal Sun. This must have come at a price, however, but Minsheng obviously has benefited by it, as Reuters reported on September 19th. Minsheng, for example, has cut its loan exposure to Evergrande to 30 billion won from 40 billion won over the past 12 months, one of the sources said, adding it also stopped offering new loans to Evergrande in recent months. But Minsheng had a progressed Venus-Saturn conjunction at 22 degrees Pisces in 2017, just as Saturn was in the last 8 degrees of Sagittarius, which is a square formation between them, very similar to the configuration lining up for China Construction Bank. In 2017, it was revealed that Minsheng Bank had sold a wealth management product to investors that had guaranteed a return of anywhere from 8% to 27%, a product which was part of the shadow banking system and turned out to be worthless. However, Minsheng survived. Note that China Construction Bank, the first chart I analyzed, has progressed Venus recently turning direct, conjunct progressed Saturn, and transiting Uranus is opposing them. I doubt that things turn out as well for China Construction as they did for Minsheng, due to Uranus, indicating the ultimate authority, which is the Chinese Communist Party, putting the screws to China Construction Bank. But Minsheng currently has transiting Neptune conjoining progressed Saturn in the second house. So even though it has tried to reduce the amount of Evergrande's debt that it holds, it will still be strongly affected by the fallout. It may have some serious explaining to do to investors next year about its loans to property developers, as the Mars-Uranus North Node triple conjunction at 18 degrees Taurus squares the progressed Sun 18 degrees Aquarius. In October 2022, transiting Saturn returns to direct motion at 18 degrees Aquarius, triggering this configuration again for this bank, as it also conjoins the progressed Sun at that time. Even though Minsheng seems to hold a stable position now, it faces serious setbacks over the long term. Minsheng Bank's chart has its first Saturn return in 2025. A Saturn return is when transiting Saturn returns to the position it held in the natal chart, a period of 28 to 29 years. The Saturn return reveals long-term trends and circumstances with regard to responsibility, status, and power. Note that the Saturn return has Neptune conjunct the North Node, 28 degrees Pisces, and has Mercury conjunct Saturn. Despite the problems of increasing non-performing assets and losses associated with transiting Neptune having conjoined natal Saturn in previous years, it still seems that Minsheng has staying power. The return's Mars, 17 degrees Cancer, is forming a trine, a very favorable 120-degree angle, to the return's Mercury and natal Saturn, indicating favorable regulatory rulings and treatment. Even better, at least within the rulerships for this sunrise chart, is the return's Pluto, conforming natal Mars 2 degrees Aquarius, indicating powerful support and the promotion of investment in this bank. But Venus in this Saturn return is very near her retrograde station, which is the position at which she stops moving forward and begins to appear to move backward. She goes retrograde by progression in January 2030, so Minsheng Bank faces serious setbacks in the long term and won't be able to cover up its excesses forever. Still, this bank seems to be favored and will be held stable at least through early 2023, if not through 2026. Agricultural Bank of China has a good short-term outlook, but only because the upcoming Venus retrograde period may see investors and regulators forgiving it some of its excesses, and it gets an influx of capital as help. Those excesses are highlighted by the Sun-Mercury-Mars triple conjunction of October 10th, which will conjunct natal Neptune 16 degrees Libra and will square Agricultural Bank's natal Sun 16 degrees Cancer, exposing that this bank may have more non-performing loans than first thought. But Agricultural Bank has some ugly long-term prospects due to two things: transiting Neptune in the last 10 degrees of Pisces, is moving to oppose natal Saturn, 26 degrees Virgo, from March 2023 through March 2024, just when the progressed Sun is conjunct natal Saturn. This is a fatal aspect for financial companies and systems. Note that progressed Mars and Pluto are almost exactly conjunct as transiting Neptune enters this position. They are repeatedly in a stressful square aspect from transiting Uranus over the next several years, which can mean sudden destructive changes when this square is triggered by other configurations. Agricultural Bank also has two configurations involving the nodes. First is the December 2021 total solar eclipse at 12 degrees 22 minutes Sagittarius, which forms a T-square with the natal nodes 12 degrees Pisces Virgo. This is a warning shot that all is not well. The other aspect is the Mars-Uranus North Node triple conjunction of August 2022, which will square natal Pluto 18 degrees Leo, which means that the transiting nodes are forming harsh angles, a T-square, to natal Pluto. This configuration of the nodes squaring natal Pluto is the same one that affected Minsheng's chart in 2017. But in this case, it seems restructuring and recapitalization are on the menu. Note that Agricultural Bank has progressed Venus retrograde. This progressed Venus returns to direct motion in early September 2028, or at least as calculated for the sunrise chart. In July 2028, transiting Uranus and Venus will square the natal nodes 12 degrees Pisces Virgo. Together, these configurations indicate a very iffy long-term prognosis. Agricultural Bank can probably pull through the crisis in China's property market, but it will be a slow rejuvenation. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this information is helpful to you. You can learn more about China's long-term astrological outlook by ordering my book, The Dragon's Debt, which is available on Amazon. The link is in the description below. Bye for now.